The Young and the Restless spoilers Wednesday full episodes April 16, 2025 after the glove drop. Damien's high-stakes condition and the battle for Lily's trust. The tension between Lily Winters and Damien Kane reached a fever pitch this week on The Young and the Restless when, in a moment charged with symbolism, Lily hurled a single white glove at Damien's feet, her silent declaration that she'd had enough of half-truths. Damien, never one to back down, bent to pick it up and, with a steady voice, issued a challenge. He would reveal everything she wanted to know, but only under one condition. What that condition is, and how Lily will respond, may well reshape their entire relationship, and possibly the future of Genoa City's most powerful families. 1. The weight of the glove. In soap opera lore, the dropping of a glove is the ultimate dare, a call to duel, a gauntlet thrown. For Lily, it was the culmination of weeks of frustration. She'd been fed conflicting stories by Victor Newman, whose ancient vendetta against Aristotle Dumas has warped his sense of fairness. Victor painted Damien and Dumas as schemers who dug into the Winters family history long before Nate Hastings ever made contact, an assertion Lily now suspects is a fabrication. By discarding her glove, she said, "Enough. I want the truth." Damien's response was measured. He could have tried to talk his way out of it, but he recognized that Lily needed agency. So he picked up the glove, looked her squarely in the eye, and said, "I'll tell you everything on one condition." The question on everyone's lips is, what is that condition? 2. A secret-keeping pact? Based on Damien's character and the stakes involved, the likeliest condition is absolute confidentiality. He'll demand that Lily share what he tells her with no one, not her brother Devon Hamilton, not her cousin Nate Hastings, and certainly not Victor. Why? Because every piece of information about the Dumas-Newman feud is a weapon in Victor's hands. If Victor gets wind of Damien's version, he'll twist it, spin it, and use it to further isolate Lily or discredit Damien entirely. Keeping the truth under wraps would allow Damien to speak freely about the origins of the Dumas-Newman feud. Damien could explain how Victor and Aristotle Dumas first clashed over a joint venture decades ago, perhaps a tech startup or real estate deal that soured, leaving Dumas with a tarnished reputation and Victor with a lasting grudge. Damien's role as a decoy. Damien might confess that he's been fronting certain Dumas enterprises, posing as their proprietor or manager, to divert Victor's attention. By making it appear that Damien was the mastermind behind Dumas's interests in Genoa City, he kept Victor from targeting the real assets. Aristotle's true agenda, far from being a mere adversary, Dumas may have a noble purpose. Funding community programs or covertly supporting Lily's philanthropic initiatives at Chancellor Winters Foundation. Damien could reveal that Dumas's secret generosity is what truly scares Victor, who thrives on control and publicity. 3. Lily's dilemma, loyalty versus transparency. For Lily, agreeing to Damien's condition would be agonizing. She's fiercely loyal to Devon, Nate, and even reluctant to keep secrets from her aunt and uncle, Nikki and Victor. But her desperation for clarity, and her growing affection for Damien, might drive her to promise silence, at least temporarily. If she agrees, Lily gains the whole story, finally understanding the tangled history that's been manipulated by Victor. This could bring her closer to Damien, forging a bond built on shared confidences. But it also isolates her from her family's support network, making her vulnerable if Damien withholds anything. If she refuses, Damien might walk away, unwilling to share partial truths that could be distorted. Lily would be left in the dark, forced to rely on Victor's version and deepening her mistrust of both men. 4. The stakes of Victor's deception. It's already clear that Victor has lied to Nikki and the board of Newman Enterprises, handing control to Nikki under false pretenses while claiming that Dumas and Damien have been digging into the Winters for years. Nikki, ever the peacemaker, tried to smooth things over. "We're not lying," she told Lily, even as the evidence stacked against Victor grew overwhelming. Now that the truth is within reach, Lily must decide whom to believe. Victor's ultimate aim? To neutralize both Damien and Dumas. By sowing discord between Lily and her allies, he weakens the Winters' position. By framing Dumas as the villain, he ensures that when the May purge begins on April 24, an orchestrated campaign of corporate raids, legal suits, and media leaks, he can strike at Dumas's assets without remorse. 5. The path forward. Love, trust, and intrigue. This moment of high drama could mark the turning point in Lily and Damien's relationship. If Lily accepts Damien's condition, we may see a private confession scene. Picture Lily and Damien alone in the Chancellor Mansion's library, the only light coming from a roaring fireplace. Damien lays out the Dumas-Newman history in vivid detail, revealing betrayals, boardroom coups, and secret philanthropy. Lily listens, tears in her eyes, as she realizes the full scope of Victor's manipulation. A growing intimacy, with the truth shared, Lily and Damien forge an emotional bond. Late-night strategy sessions, whispered plans to outmaneuver Victor, and stolen moments in hidden corners of Genoa City, this is the stuff of soap opera legend. An inevitable confrontation, Victor will learn of Lily's clandestine meeting, through a planted bug or a jealous informant, and confront them both. The explosive fallout could see Victor disowning Lily, threatening to cut her off from the Newman fortune, or even leveraging legal action against Damien. Alternatively, if Lily balks at the secrecy, Damien may retreat into his shell, leaving Lily to grapple with her regret and the realization that she may have lost her last chance for clarity. 6. What to watch for the reveal of Damien's condition. Will it be strict confidentiality, or something more unexpected, like Lily having to break ties with another ally? Damien's full story, will he truly lay everything bare, or will he still hold back a crucial secret, perhaps about a third party pulling strings? Lily's decision, how far will she go to learn the truth? And what will she sacrifice in the process? Victor's countermove, once he suspects Lily and Damien are plotting behind his back, how ruthlessly will he strike? In the weeks ahead, The Young and the Restless promises a riveting saga of secrets, loyalties, and the age-old question, how much truth can one relationship bear? As Lily contemplates Damien's ultimatum, viewers will be glued to their screens, eager to see whether love and trust can triumph over deception, or whether Victor's far-reaching vendetta will tear them apart once and for all. A night at GCAC, Jack's revelations, Victor's dilemmas, and the Glissade spy scandal. The ambience at GCAC that evening was one of refined tension mixed with unexpected levity. In one private booth, Victor Newman sat across from Michael Baldwin, deep in conversation. The din of overlapping voices in the upscale dining room could hardly distract them from the gravity of their discussion, a discussion that was as much about corporate machinations as it was about personal vendettas. Victor, ever the calculating patriarch, was reviewing recent developments regarding his elaborate plans to maintain control over his empire, while Michael, with his signature half-smile, listened intently. Michael's eyes, however, soon shifted to a familiar figure ambling past their table. It was Jack Abbott, looking unusually upbeat. Michael's lips curled into a wry smile as he noted Jack's demeanor. Even amid the ever-present storms of rivalry and backroom deals, Jack seemed to be harboring an irrepressible cheerfulness. Unable to contain his curiosity, Michael leaned over and asked in a tone that mixed genuine interest with a hint of amusement, "Why is Jack so happy tonight?" His question cut through the murmur of polite conversation and immediately drew the attention of both Victor and Jack. Jack paused by the booth, and after a brief moment of hesitation, a moment that held the promise of revelations, he turned his gaze toward the two men. With a glint in his eyes and a tone that carried both mischief and measured candor, Jack replied, "Thank you, Michael, for noticing. I should probably start from the very beginning." As the words hung in the air, the trio's attention shifted. Michael's amusement deepened while Victor's face grew unreadable. Jack's confession was about to unravel a thread of scandal that would, if fully revealed, upend the delicate balance of power among their elite circles. The Glissade spy scandal. Jack's voice dropped a notch as he began to detail the events that had led to his unexpected joy. "You see, I've been tracking something odd at Glissade for a while now, something that has the potential to throw a wrench into the carefully orchestrated operations over at Jabot." There were whispers of a covert group operating under the guise of routine activity. "At first, I thought it was nothing more than paranoia on my part, but soon the signs became undeniable. He leaned in closer, ensuring his tone conveyed the gravity of his discovery. These weren't ordinary employees. No, these were spies, individuals with a singular mission: to probe into our operations, to ask the kind of questions that only an outsider with a vested interest in Jabot's inner workings would ask. And I wasn't the only one noticing. Their inquiries were too pointed, their presence too calculated. Jack continued, his voice steady and resolute. I decided to follow the trail. I uncovered that these spies were not just gathering trivial information, they were building a dossier that could be used to undermine Jabot's position. And the kicker? I traced them right back to Victor's own realm. It seems that some of these so-called assets had been counting on our trust, relying on the goodwill of a man they believed could be swayed by their cunning. A bold move against the unseen. Jack paused, and his eyes darted briefly to Victor before resuming his story. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. I couldn't allow this kind of betrayal to go unchecked, not on my watch. So, I made a decision that might ruffle some feathers. I tracked these spies down to their source, and without a moment's hesitation, I let them go. Fired them, to be exact. The gentleman in charge, that fabled mustache who'd been cozying up with these operatives, thought he could hide behind their cover. But I made it clear that if any part of Glissade's intelligence network had been infiltrating our territory, they'd answer to me. Michael's eyes widened with a mix of shock and amusement. He was well aware that Jack's decision could seriously complicate Victor's intricate plans. After all, any hint of an internal espionage scandal would be like throwing gasoline on the already raging fires of rivalries between Abbott and Newman. Michael, who had long been wary of being dragged into yet another of Jack's vendetta-fueled escapades, couldn't help but chuckle. "Well, isn't that just a perfect twist in the tale?" he remarked, his tone light yet laced with the awareness of the high stakes involved. The stakes and the fallout, the implications of Jack's actions were manifold. By purging these spies, Jack not only secured his own position but also unwittingly threw a spanner into Victor's machinations. Victor's long-planned scheme to undermine Jabot, and by extension, Jack, might now have to be rethought. The delicate balance of power was shifting. The exposure of an undercover network, especially one that had crept into the very fabric of Victor's operations, could potentially lead to an explosion of retribution. Jack's revelation, however, was more than just a corporate power play. It carried personal ramifications too. With every word, he hinted at the possibility that this incident was not an isolated event but part of a broader campaign orchestrated by those who wanted to see the Abbott legacy tarnished. His tone, though measured, betrayed a personal satisfaction, a joy born not of malicious intent but of a need for justice in a world where truth was often sacrificed on the altar of ambition. "Now," Jack said, his gaze steady and unwavering, "I know some might say that firing these spies wasn't enough, that I should have exposed the entire network. But let me tell you this, if I were to reveal everything, then I'd have to ask a favor in return. And that favor is not a small one. I need absolute discretion on this matter. No word to Devon, no mention to Nate, and especially none to Victor. It's the only way to ensure that the real culprits remain exposed, and that their plans do not spiral out of control." The pause that followed was palpable. Michael's expression softened, recognizing the gravity of the confidentiality that Jack demanded. He understood all too well that the slightest leak could lead to retaliatory actions that would ensnare them all in a web of vengeance and retribution. Meanwhile, Victor's expression darkened ever so slightly, a subtle sign that he was already calculating his next move. Michael's reluctant approval. Michael's reaction was a blend of reluctant admiration and pragmatic caution. "Jack," he said slowly, "if this is the kind of clean sweep you believe is necessary, then you have my support, at least for now. But understand this, when you start unraveling secrets that run this deep, the fallout might reach far beyond just our little corner of Genoa City." Jack nodded, his smile wry. "I'm aware, Michael. But sometimes, to protect what's ours, you have to make the tough calls, even if they mean burning bridges with those who think they can hide in plain sight." His words carried the weight of someone who had long wrestled with the moral ambiguities of corporate warfare. For Michael, who had spent years navigating the treacherous waters between justice and expediency, Jack's decision was a bittersweet victory. On one hand, it meant that an imminent threat had been neutralized. On the other, it signaled that the coming days would be fraught with uncertainty and potential conflict, especially if Victor's relentless ambition drove him to retaliate against anyone who dared disrupt his carefully laid plans. The impending focus on Jack's bold move inadvertently set another piece in motion. With the spy scandal now an undeniable thorn in his side, Victor might be forced to pivot his attention toward a different target, Kyle. The possibility that Victor, unable to pin down a way to obliterate Jack, would redirect his punitive focus on Kyle was a development that sent ripples through their inner circles. For Kyle, who had always walked the tightrope between being an unwitting pawn and a strategic player, this could mean a sudden and dangerous escalation in the ongoing power struggle. Victor's potential shift in focus might lead to a cascade of strategic recalibrations. Not only would it affect the current alliances, but it could also redefine the long-standing rivalries between Abbott and Newman. In this high-stakes game, every move had repercussions that reverberated far beyond the boardrooms and private dinners of Genoa City. The road ahead as the evening at GCAC progressed, the atmosphere among the trio, Victor, Michael, and Jack, shifted subtly. Victor, still digesting Jack's revelation, was already scheming his next move. Michael, torn between his loyalty to the Newman legacy and his recognition of Jack's uncompromising need for truth, maintained a watchful silence. And Jack, satisfied yet cautious, knew that his next steps would determine not only his own future but also the balance of power that had defined their lives for so long. For Lily and the rest of the Winters family, these developments would soon ripple through their carefully constructed world. Every secret Jack had just revealed was a potential lever in the grand game of corporate intrigue, a game in which trust was scarce and betrayal was never far behind. The night's conversation ended with no definitive conclusions, only the silent promise of more explosive confrontations to come. As the diners at GCAC gradually resumed their own affairs, one thing was clear: in Genoa City, every revelation, every act of defiance, and every strategic decision carried the potential to reshape alliances and redefine loyalties. The spy purge at Glissade was only the beginning. A catalyst that would force Victor to reconsider his methods, compel Michael to navigate even murkier waters, and leave Jack standing at the crossroads of retribution and redemption. In the coming days, as the fallout from Jack's actions begins to surface, viewers will be left wondering whether the Abbott spirit, fueled by a combination of ingenuity, determination, and a deep-seated need for justice, will ultimately prevail over Victor's relentless quest for control. Will the truth behind the spies finally free Jabot from the clutches of deception? Or will the delicate balance of power in Genoa City shatter under the weight of too many secrets? One thing is certain: as Jack's words echo in the corridors of power and as Victor braces himself for the consequences of his miscalculations, the future of the young and the restless promises to be as unpredictable and compelling as ever. This narrative blends the elements of corporate espionage, personal vendettas, and high-stakes drama, drawing on the rich tapestry of character relationships and power struggles that define the young and the restless. It leaves the door wide open for future twists, personal reckonings, and a battle for trust that could very well reshape the destinies of everyone involved. 2 of 2